we have a system in our country and a culture that is very unforgiving. So it is fine that there are consequences for bad actions. Some of those can rightfully include incarceration. But what's not fine is when someone has done their time, paid their dues, that they are forever branded as less than a full citizen, as less than a full human being, and denied the opportunity to become contributing members of society.
Can you believe it? That's right. I'm still here, living inside this tent on top of this rooftop, bringing to you the attention and awareness that you need to know about the violence on the south side of Chicago, but also to build a community center on this much needed block called O Block. It's called O Block because it's named after a young man named O.D. Perry who was shot and killed. The gang took the O in his name and started calling it O Block. Well, we decided we like the O, but we're going to change it to Opportunity Block. I want to thank Fox for giving me the opportunity every single day to bring to you Rooftop Revelations, where I share with you my viewpoints, thoughts, and opinions on matters as it relates to violence in Chicago, but critical issues across our great country. And every now and then I get to bring you a very special guest, and today I'm really excited for our guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jeff.
I'm Jeff Korzenik. I'm an economic researcher and author and the chief investment strategist of Fifth Third Bank.
And the author of this wonderful book called Untapped Talent that we're going to talk about today. And when we talk about untapped talent, one of your sublines says how second chance hiring works for your business and the community. I want to ask you, when it comes to second chance hiring and returning citizens, people who are returning into society from prison, why do we have this problem with these individuals in the first place? What's the problem?
The problem is a universal human condition that young people make mistakes, and in particular young men make mistakes. And unfortunately, we have a system in our country and a culture that is very unforgiving. So it is fine that there are consequences for bad actions. Some of those can rightfully include incarceration, but what's not fine is when someone has done their time, paid their dues, that they are forever branded as less than a full citizen, as less than a full human being, and denied the opportunity to become contributing members of society.
Yeah. So why is it then, why do you feel that we've made it so much more difficult for these individuals to get jobs and to re-enter back into society?
Well, part of the problem is just our approach to justice system has overly incarcerated, has overly relied on incarceration, and then we live in a society that has changed over time. So part of this is the typical, business owners may have had no interaction with people with criminal records, and so they're the others. So it's harder for them to understand the situation that could have brought them to this place. And then there's a lot of fear of legal liability. If you hire, it's technically called negligent hiring liability. If you hire someone with a criminal record, is that putting you at additional legal risk? And there are answers to all of these, but we've also had, until recently, just a surplus of labor in this country, so we never had to worry about it. There was never a need to dig deeper into our population from a business perspective. Moral perspective, absolutely. Right. And that's changing. But it's left us in a position, and if I may give you the numbers.
Absolutely, please.
19 million Americans have a felony conviction, and that includes 1 in 3 black men in America.
Wow.
And this has become an incredible barrier to being able to participate in society, take care of your family, and it causes intergenerational poverty.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why it's so important that I talk with you, because and that people hear and understand what's going on. When you say 1 in 3 African American males, and then the fact that it's creating generational poverty, 2 things that we're trying to alleviate, that we're trying to fix. Can you tell us, how do we fix that? Because here at Project Hood, we want to fix that problem. How do we go about fixing that issue?
So it has to start with the business community. Right? They have to become open to this, and not just open in sort of a a easy to say way, oh, we're a fair employer. They have to dig into their process and say, how are we unintentionally excluding people? What do we have to do? And a key component of what they have to do is to partner with organizations like Project Hood, because you as an employer need someone who is going to help prepare young people who've made mistakes, and people of all ages who've made mistakes, help prepare them, and critically for the employer, help determine who's truly ready to be a good employee. And then employers also have to learn that this group may come with gaps. Any talent pool comes with gaps, things they need to thrive. The gaps of this group are things we're not used to thinking about in the business community. Access to transportation, housing. And that's the other role that organizations like Project Hood have to help provide those wraparound services in partnership with the business community.
You know, I have a question I really want to ask you because I'm really interested. You know, when we talk about these returning citizens, a lot of times there's not a lot of individuals who really care about this type of effort. What is it that caused you to come up with this idea? I mean, what happened that Jeff said, listen, I'm going to help with this area, I'm going to help fix it? What happened?
So I have two answers. Here's my official answer, and then I'll give you the unofficial one. The official answer is I'm a banker, and our companies we bank need employees. And I discovered that there are employers out there that have created pathways for people who've been marginalized from the labor force. So this is a solution that supports our employers and also makes our communities better. So what better role for a banker?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the unofficial answer. My father, who passed away in 2003, was my hero. I'm 60 years old, and my dad is still my hero. He was first in family to go to college. He was raised in deep poverty, and he never forgot his roots. And as a kid, he would return on weekends to do what he called errands, and I later realized was just visiting his old neighborhood. And one day when I was 8 or 10, I went along with him, and he introduced me to a friend of his. They had a nice conversation, and when we walked away, my dad said, "You know, my friend was in prison."
Wow.
And I, curious, I said, "For what?" And my dad said, "For murder, a crime of passion." And then my dad said something that stuck with me forever. He said, "He's done his time." And I think that is something that drives me as an American. I'm the son and grandson of immigrants. This country has been the land of second chances for us. I want everyone to have a second chance and an opportunity to take part in the American dream.
Absolutely. So Jeff, when these brothers and sisters who are returning citizens into our community from the prison system, what is their response? How do they respond to the things that you're doing for them and helping them find place in society? What's their response?
I didn't understand it at first. People would hug me. I get letters from prison. I got one letter that really touched me and changed something I did with the book. I got a letter from a federal prison in Colorado, and I'd written an article in Barron's, a financial magazine, about the importance of giving opportunities and this pathway to hiring. And this gentleman wrote me from prison and said, "Your article hangs on our prison library wall and gives all of us here hope." So it was important to me that this message, which is really intended for the business community and nonprofits and government and general public who wants to learn more about the justice system and how we can make this right. But I also wanted this book to go into correctional facilities. So a industry peer, a colleague I met at a conference who wanted to help, funded sending so far 500 of the books to prison libraries. And the very first part of this book, I'm pretty sure I can guarantee that this is the only business book that starts out with a note to the currently incarcerated, which essentially says, you think you're a burden, you're not, you're a resource. And I thought people who are in the system need to know that there are those of us in the business community that understand that they are a resource.
Absolutely. And I know we're going to be using a lot of the principles from the book with our reentry program, and so we're really grateful and thankful. But before we go, just tell us, where do you see the future of this going? What's the future of this type of market that you're talking about, this untapped talent?
I'm actually very optimistic, because in my entire lifetime, my entire nearly 35, 40-year business career, we've always had a surplus of labor. The business community didn't really have to care about these issues.
Yeah.
We stopped having enough babies 20 and 30 years ago in this country. we have a labor shortage that simply isn't going away.
Right.
And for the first time, everyone in the business community has to care about these issues and has to look to creating pathways for people who've been marginalized. The business community are really good problem solvers, and they've never had to help work on these problems. And I think, and I have to commend Project Hood. You've done an incredible job in partnering with the business community in Chicago already.
Thank you.
And really unusual for an organization like this. This is an opportunity to put all those talents to work to making this right and to getting the business community to understand that people who are justice involved are their future workforce, and how do you want them treated? And that's going to result in very positive change.
There's one more thing. I know I said it was going to be the last question, but there's one more thing.
Asking an author to talk more about his book, I think I can do that.
The title of the book,
yes,
Untapped Talent.
Yeah.
Can you that's an interesting title. What made you say untapped talent? Why is that?
So my argument to the business community, I go through the argument of why this labor shortage is here, why it's not going away. That's just simple demographics and how critical it is. But I also urge them to look at this as a true talent pool.
Wow.
What I'm really concerned about today is businesses are going to go back to something we've seen before. Gee, I can't find labor. I guess I'm going to lower my standards.
Yes.
That's not it.
Exactly.
This is looking at people who've had unique life experiences that are non-traditionals, but bring real talent to the situation.
Yeah.
And so I want businesses to understand that the core way you approach a talent pool, find who's a good fit for what you're trying to do with your enterprise.
Absolutely.
And then critically understand the gaps they have and what you need to do to support them. You don't even have to do it alone. You can partner with people like Project Hood, government agencies, all sorts of folks are there to help. Partner with them to allow those employees to thrive. That's how you treat a talent pool. Yeah. That would work with graduates from University of Chicago Business School, but they're picked over. Yeah. The reason this works so well for businesses, the way they get such highly engaged and loyal employees, is because this is a talent pool that hasn't been picked over. It's an untapped opportunity for the business community.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you. I love talking about second chances. Everybody who knows me know that I'm a person that believes in giving people a lot of grace. I preach the Bible, and one of the reasons why I preach the Bible is because it's a book of giving people second chances, where you're talking about Moses, who was a murderer, David, who was an adulterer, Jonah, who just didn't want to obey God. I mean, the Bible is replete. It's full. Paul, who was a killer of Christians. I mean, it's full of people who were making mistakes, but God used them. And so I want to thank you for writing such a great book. And I want to thank you for sharing your principles with America and with the world. And hopefully we can find a place for more of these returning citizens back into our society, and hopefully give them a second chance.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight, too. I hope you don't freeze tonight. We're going to make sure you try to stay a little warm. But thanks. Listen, it's been a blessing. Thank you for tuning in to Rooftop Revelations. As always, I want to thank Eli Steele, our producer, for producing such a great show. I want to thank Terrell for suffering in this cold weather with us to film it. But most of all, I want to thank Fox for giving me this platform. I know you don't have to, but you do it every single day. And I get letters from people all across America talking about how inspired and encouraged they are. So I salute you, Fox, for having the courage to allow this platform to be displayed. Thank you so very much. And as I always say, another Rooftop Revelation. God bless you. God bless America. And until tomorrow, another Rooftop Revelation. Peace.